crazy thing, and it would seem like it would be science fiction, that, that's exactly what Darth Vader kind of shows, is that man is at a crucial point in our evolution starting to merge with machines, and you might think that's just Star Wars dribble, but the bottom line is it's actually happening, and the transhumanist society wants to help that happen. And now I know it's getting close. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. About 3 years ago, when I first started hearing about this stuff, I thought it was just a crazy conspiracy theory, that it was, kind of science fiction stuff that people would love if it would happen, but it's not going to happen kind of thing. About 10 years ago, though, when I first heard about this, I saw a show on HBO. It was called America Undercover. I think it was The End of Aging. And they went to this former military research development center that had been converted in, for one reason, federally funded billions of dollars a year to find the end of aging. Because, if you think about it, healthcare is one of the biggest bills that we have. And it's a situation where if they could stop a lot of the disease, then it would make things easier on the economy. It was they're looking behind it. But then when you get to the real people who are designing this stuff, and it also poses a lot of threats to humanity too. Number one, the rich ultra elite actually are the ones pushing for this. Number two, if it's a situation, 10 years ago on HBO, watching the film and hearing scientists say, we think in our lifetime that people could live potentially for hundreds, if not 1,000 years. And I thought it was, probably just sensationalism, but it was on America Undercover, which was a good series. And I looked into it a little bit and kind of gave up on it. About 3 years ago is when I first discovered the whole transhumanist society and the quest for the end of aging and all that. And now it's actually coming full circle to the point where they are just announcing and showing video of regrowing all the organs. And in fact, 10 years ago when I saw the film, they could regrow the organs in petries and in the laboratory, but they wouldn't take to the humans. When they tried to transplant them, it never really worked. That was 10 years ago, maybe 11 or 12 years ago. Now it's a situation where it is working. They're able to regrow these organs. In fact, 7 bladder transplants, I think, last year that were just basically grown in dishes and then transplanted into the people, which is bizarre. So now you factoring in all this stuff and thinking, and the question that the series from HBO posed was, what if they could end aging for hundreds of years? Wouldn't that be a massive problem with population? Wouldn't it be a situation where there would be no more Da Vinci's born or no more artists, because everybody would be living for thousands of years, and so therefore everybody alive would present all the talent that they had, and that's it. You're not going to get any new fresh talent around the corner because you can't have children, as many as we would like to have. So it's a bizarre thing that at first I thought was ridiculous and it couldn't be true. But it is true, and they are doing it. They are regrowing all the organs, and these, super rich people are so scared of dying that they will, like Walt Disney, get frozen in liquid nitrogen, thinking that in the future you can rejuvenate him or something like that. Bizarre stuff, but they are definitely afraid of dying. For me personally, the whole idea of living for 1,000 years on Earth, not so sure I would want to do that. All the problems that it would pose. I don't fear dying, so I don't understand why they would, but apparently it's because they think that man is God and life is the only thing that we have, and that there is no afterlife. It's just science and numbers, and so therefore if they can extend their life, they're going to do it. So in a few minutes, towards the end of the hour here, I'm going to get into all that, and I've got some clips from Barbara Walters' ABC. I don't know, it was some news show that they did, and it was called Live to be 150, and it's completely cheesy. But the point is, if they're actually selling it, the first stages of it right now, in 20 years, their plans are to really go all out with it, to where people will be living for 150 to 200 years, regrowing all their organs, and that's where the transhumanism comes in, where they want to merge with machines. So as the aging process is get worse and you've done all the transplants you can or whatever potential issues they might have, then you just merge with machines. You do like what Timothy Leary wanted to do. And he did, actually. He tried to download his consciousness into the internet. And so, I mean, it's just absolute bizarre. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I've got some more news I want to get into also about the Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission. But first, I wanted to play this clip here of, this is Keith Olbermann. I haven't seen this. I've been wanting to see this, so I'm going to go ahead and play this one right here.
Still Bush. Number 3, deregulation gate. Stuart Parnell, owner of Peanut Corporation of America, the ground zero of the fatal salmonella outbreak, refused to testify to Congress today. And a baseball player named Miguel Tejada has to face charges of not telling the House the truth about steroids. Shortly after Parnell did not speak, a lab employee from his plant testified that they found salmonella at the company 3 years ago, and nobody did anything about it. And Parnell's emails were then released by the committee. In one, he pleaded with the Food and Drug Administration to, despite the salmonella, let him, quote, turn the raw peanuts on the floor into money. Number 2, sarcasm gate. Sadly, the email you have gotten is not true. Yes, Ben & Jerry's ice cream did create a new flavor at the Home Office in honor of the new president called Yes Pecan. But no, it is not asking customers to help name a new flavor after Mr. Bush. Thus, none of these suggestions on that email are actually being considered as new flavors at Ben & Jerry's. Abu Grape, Nut and Accomplished, Iraqi Road, Wire Tapioca, Impeach Cobbler or Impeachment, Housing Crunch or Credit Crunch, Chunky Monkey in Chief, George Bush doesn't care about dark chocolate, WMD-licious, Heck of a Job Brownie, Grape Depression, or my favorite, I broke the law and am responsible for the deaths of thousands with nuts. And number 1, leak gate. Karl Rove is still talking, the creator of the impermanent Republican majority, the possessor of the math that did not add up, telling an audience at Loyola Marymount University in L.A. that government leaks to the media can cause serious harm and newspapers should not run them. And he never did. Quote, the Bush White House was criticized for being tight-lipped. We didn't leak. Secrecy and confidentiality are necessary for every government, especially when you're at war, he scolded. So why didn't you practice them? You guys leaked like hell. You and your minions leaked the name of a CIA op, ironically one devoted to countering weapons of mass destruction, while you were starting up a war supposedly designed to neutralize weapons of mass destruction. And by the way, the quote-unquote leak you're still whining about, the New York Times revealing that you and your fellow future convicts had arranged to illegally eavesdrop on many, most, or all Americans, and maybe some people who might have had tangential connections to terrorism, maybe. That leak came from somewhere in your government, Carl. So stop spraining your arm, patting yourself on your back, because somebody among you realized that what you were doing, infiltrating the communications of Americans, violating the privacy of Americans, gaining secret information to use against Americans, and causing fear and anxiety to grow among Americans. Somebody realized that doing that, Carl, was you doing the same things to Americans that the terrorists want to do to Americans.
There you have it. Keith Olbermann, gotta love him. You know, that really brings me back to what I was talking about earlier, which is, you know, over 40% of Americans want to have an investigation of the Bush administration. And the Bush administration saying that they can't go into all this mess and they can't comply because of national security. That's always the reason. It's every single time it's national security. I wanted to play a bit of this clip coming up here of John F. Kennedy from a speech it's called The President and the Press speech, and it's April 27th, 1961. This is a speech that he gave to the press corps, and it's about secret societies. It's definitely a very interesting speech. I'm sure some of you have actually heard this. I'm not going to play it all, but I wanted to play some of it because when it comes to national security and the press, I mean, honestly, when it's a situation like Obermann's talking about where they're saying, the Bush administration is saying that they can't disclose things because of national security reasons. This gets to the core of what John F. Kennedy was actually talking about in this speech. Not to mention that he lets the cat out of the bag. I mean, this was at the press corps dinner and telling the press that he needs them more than ever and that it's a vast conspiracy of secrets, a monolithic conspiracy of secret societies is actually what Kennedy says. So I wanted to play some of this speech here if I can get this queued up. I may have to skip ahead a bit.
Jefferson's salary of $5 per
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here.
And devoting his talents for history might have been different.
Okay. . 'Cause 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 This is my favorite speech of all time.
Selected as the title of my remarks tonight,